I often think of my sites as living, breathing things since they can change so much over the course of a day. As you work on a site, you're constantly creating new files and folders, renaming files and moving files around within your directory structure. In Dreamweaver, we use the Files panel to make the majority of these changes. Using the Files panel, I can create new files and folders, rename files, move files and folders, copy and paste files, you name it. Not only is using the Files panel the most efficient way to make these changes within your site, it's also the safest way. Websites, by their very nature, rely on understanding where other files are. When you place an image on a page or a link to another file, Dreamweaver places code on your page that tells the browser where it can find that particular file or where it can find that particular image. If you move a file and it doesn't update the link on any pages that reference it, your link no longer works. Or in the case of an image, the image no longer displays. And that's especially problematic for larger sites, where dozens of pages might link to a single page. Making all those changes manually would take considerable time. But if you remember to use the Files panel to make these changes, Dreamweaver will automatically update all links on that page, as well as any pages in your site that link to that page. Let's take a closer look using the Files panel. So the first thing I'm going to do with the Files panel, move right over here, and you can see it's showing my Groundswell site. So I'm just going to create a new file. Now I can do that by going up to the root directory and simply right-clicking. And of course on a Mac, you'd want to control-click. And notice that right here, I can choose to create a new file or new folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. I have a new file at the very bottom of my Files panel now called untitled.html. I'm just going to go ahead and call it test.html. For those of you on a PC, when you're creating a new file through the dialog box and saving it, Dreamweaver will go ahead and place the extension on it for you. That does not happen in the Files panel, so always remember to put the extension on there. If I double-click this new page, I can see that it is totally empty. So it's just a brand new page, nothing on it, nothing within the code other than what our preferences are set up for. So I can go ahead and close that. In addition to creating files, you can also edit them from here as well. Again, if we go back to our test.html and we right-click or control-click that, I can go to Edit, and I can delete it. And it's going to prompt you because you can't really undo that. And as soon as you delete it, now that file is gone. You can create new files as well as get rid of new files directly from the Files panel. What about renaming files? Sometimes in a lot of programs, you'd have to open something up and then do a Save As to rename it. But with the Files panel, we don't really have to do that. I'm going to expand my Files panel. I can move it right here and just drag this out a little bit. And that's going to allow me to increase the size of the naming so I can see what's going on here. So all of the pages that are referencing boards have an underscore, but Boards Crunch has that uppercase C. We know with our file naming conventions, that's really not a good idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this once and then click on it again to activate the name. Now, if you double click really fast, it's going to open it up. So be careful about that. I'm going to highlight that and do underscore C. So now it says boards underscore crunch. Here's where we might run into a problem because all the other pages are linking to a file that has boards crunch as one word. And now the file name is going to change. So let's take a look at what Dreamweaver is going to do about that. I'm going to hit enter. And Dreamweaver automatically says, hey, these files were linking to that file and they were using the old name. Do you want me to update them or not update them? There's no real good reason here not to update them. So I'm going to say update. And now all those pages, and let's go ahead and open one. So if I open up the Boards Swells page and I go up and find the link for the crunch, which is right here, I can see that now it's linking to the page name that I just created. So if you look down the property inspector, you can click on this image and you'll see that it's linking to boards underscore crunch.html. That is awesome. Now I'm going to close this file because file management can go way beyond this. If I go up to my site and I look at all my folders, I can see that I do have a subdirectory called Lifestyle, and it's got all of the pages that are in the Lifestyle section. Well, my gear section's got a lot of pages too, but they're all sitting in the root. They really ought to be in a subdirectory so that I can keep my site a little bit more organized. So what I'm going to do is go right back up to the root directory, right-click, choose New Folder, and I'll just call this new folder Gear. Right now it's empty, but we're going to put some pages in it. So I'm going to highlight the board comparison page, and using my Control key or the Command key on the Mac, I'm going to select some non-contiguous files here. So I'm going to select Boards Crunch, Swells, Velvet, and Comparison, And we might as well go ahead and select board 2 because the gear page is the only one that's not selected there. So all the board pages, go ahead and select all of those guys. The gear folder is empty, but we can simply drag and drop into the gear folder to move all of those files into that subdirectory. We get a much longer listing. And it says, okay, everybody that was pointing to one of those files also needs to be updated because, again, we're moving the location within the directory structure. So be sure to always choose update, and we're going to go ahead and update that. Perfect. As you can see, the Files panel can save you a tremendous amount of time when managing files and folders, as well as save you from making costly errors. Of course, that's not all the Files panel can do. Later in this title, we'll discuss using the Files panel to upload and download your remote files, as well as helping you work in a collaborative environment. For now, however, concentrate on making sure you practice discipline when needing to make changes on your site. Make these changes from within Dreamweaver using the Files panel instead of using your operating system, and you'll be confident of making these changes correctly and without any costly errors.